every one of you is forever changed by a needless and preventable loss. It is particularly hard at this time of the year when the joy of the holidays is tempered by the memories of those who are no longer celebrating with us. As Maryland remembers these individuals, we resolve to make our roads safer with every hope of sparing another family the loss that you are experiencing.
Last year, more than 22,000 DUI arrests were made across Maryland through a combination of sobriety checkpoints, saturation patrols, and daily aggressive patrols by individual police officers. That's an average of 60 arrests a day. From sobriety checkpoints alone, over 15,000 vehicle contacts were made to raise public awareness about drunk driving. That means over 15,000 drivers were stopped by officers and screened for the presence of alcohol. Those drivers saw firsthand that we are serious about this issue. Our hope is that simply knowing that police are out there ready to arrest an impaired driver will be enough to deter most motorists. But the 171 alcohol-related deaths in Maryland last year alone proves that our presence isn't enough. People need to hear your stories, your sorrows, your memories, your pleas, because we need to give the drunk driving epidemic the human face that it deserves. People need to be reminded that even one life lost is one too many. That is why we want to continue our partnership with each of you. Law enforcement is most powerful when combined with education. You have the power to educate through your experiences, your perseverance, and your commitment to reducing drunk driving tragedies. You know better than anyone the magnitude of the traffic safety crisis and the need for diligent action. Your unique situations gives you an important platform and the message to fight drunk driving. I encourage each of you to deliver your very personal message everywhere and wherever you can. Please know that our thoughts are with you during this difficult time. Know that all of us in Maryland's law enforcement community will be with you as we all work together to stop drunk driving and prevent further.
On May 2004, May 30th to be exact, 2004, my family and I were coming home from the movies and we got hit by a drunk driver on 695 doing 125 miles an hour.
And what happened then?
Actually, what happened was we were not even aware we had been in an accident. I was awakened by someone slapping my face, telling me, ma'am, you've been in an accident. Apparently, we got hit. We did a couple of 360s. We flipped over a couple of times. We ended up upright, so I was sitting upright, but a fireman was tapping me on my face saying, ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am? And he basically said that we had been in an accident. And when I opened my eyes, again, what I could see was a figment of a fireman, and I felt something resting on my shoulders. And when I turned to my left, it was my son. So apparently we had been hit, and on my side, because I was a passenger, and he had pushed the back of the car all the way into the dash. So I heard them trying to cut my son and I out of the car. I remember just screaming, asking someone to please help my son because I could see that he was hurt. And then I heard a medevac, and then I didn't hear a medevac, and we went to the hospital. My daughter and my husband and my son's best friend were in the car. We all went to one hospital. They took my son to another hospital. My husband left to go take care of my son. And on his route there, they came in and they told me that my son had passed away.
2004, right?
May 30th, 2004.
How has it been since then?
Horrible. it's the most horrific thing that you will ever go through in your life. Losing a child, anyway, is a horrific experience. So it's very, very difficult. You know, I always say God dealt me this double-edged sword. He blessed me with two beautiful children. I lost a child. I say he was murdered by a drunk driver. I agree with the speaker today that it's no accident, because this was a 30-year-old, well-educated man that knew right from wrong, and he made the choice to do what he did. But God dealt me this double-edged sword of I have to learn to live my life without my son, but also continue to be the mother that my daughter expects. So I absolutely credit my daughter for giving me the strength to move on, but my son for giving me the light to continue to shine for him. So
How does this ceremony help you?
For some people, it's holidays. Every day is hard. Holidays are the worst because it's family time. So it's always been hard for me to do anything around the holidays because I'm with families and their families are still whole and our family is broken. Well, Maryland Remembers actually, it helps me to move forward with the holidays. It gives me a little bit of comfort because all the people in here, we're all walking the same walk. We all have the same heart. So we have a compassion for one another that most people who are not walking our walk don't understand. So this is how Maryland Remember helps me. It helps me make it through the holidays.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
Well, it's bittersweet. I'm grateful that I was asked to share my daughter's story, but I hate that I have to be here. But I'm glad that I get to share her voice and honor her in this way and hopefully make a difference and inspire people to change. And
What is the pain like?
horrific.
Yeah.
Nonstop. The thing that gets me through is just knowing that my daughter would want me to speak up and do something.
When you are not in a ceremony, does a ceremony like this help you with withstanding the shock?
I think in a way sometimes it does help. I was always inspired by my daughter, so she was always so ambitious and determined that I feel like I'm honoring her and her voice by being the same way.
You made a point in your speech that the public failed Jessica. Would you like to expand on that?
Because I believe drinking and driving is a multi-layered issue, certainly. I don't think it's just about the drunk driver. I think there's so many levels of the public. You know, alcohol is a part of every single celebration, every single thing we do, which is fine. But we don't have an equal amount of, well, what do we do when people, after they've drank? So many people think it's just, they're willing to take the risk.
What do you think is one of the immediate things that can be done?
Well, I mean, immediately, it would be lovely if I could just trust everyone to take personal responsibility. That would obviously be immediate. And I really think the media getting involved and having it in their faces, people's faces, all the time, constant voices, constant stories, making it real in people's eyes, because until people, are touched in some way, they sometimes are not inspired to make the changes for themselves.
Do you think that liquor store that had the happy hour there in Carroll County could have done something?
They could have, but in Maryland there are no dram shop laws. In Maryland, the bars have zero responsibility for the intoxication of their guests once they leave. Zero.
So that's something
We have zero ability to go after the bar.
Could the bartender or bar attendee called or said something? You talked about calling 911.
The bartender could, if they chose, they could make that choice, but some of them don't. They don't know all the signs, or they don't want to step it up and do anything, because once they leave the bar, it's not their problem. And I think that's a lot of the problems, in this world, with why this is such a big thing. That's why we all have to watch out for each other.
Okay. Now, your daughter was unique, but there are some cases where teenagers drink a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you do about those?
Parental involvement.
Okay.
I mean, you have to just be as involved and teach your kids from a very young age that drinking and driving is absolutely forbidden under any circumstances.
Do you think the high schools are doing enough?
I think the high schools are doing what they can, but I think that a lot more can be done all around, from citizens to legislators to organizations to the media. I just think it has to be a multi-layered attack, kind of like an army going in there and trying to make changes. I mean, these are people's lives we're talking about. We have to save them.
Well, I'm glad you're not crying.
I
Because
will.
you were close a minute there while you were giving that speech. But you're laughing now.
Well, I'm trying very hard for my daughter. You see, later when I leave, I might, but...
Right now.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.